I've met some of the richest men in this world that are the most miserable.
There is a bit of an attack on Christianity in the world at large, so I feel like this really affects young people the most.
Man, you can walk in your purpose. You can show up in the face of danger.
I'm called to sacrifice all my desires, and that's the foundation stone for everything. Doesn't mean don't lead, sit on the couch and sleep all day. It means I am fully leading. But now I get to sacrifice myself so that way my bride can become the woman that God called her to be elevated into every part of God's daughter.
Now this generation, a lot of parents don't even subscribe to any belief in God.
What does it look like to walk with someone who wants all of those things but doesn't know how to bridge the gap?
To be rather than to appear. Take off the mask. What is being authentic is taking off the mask, and that means that's the good, the ugly, the scars, the everything, and you finally relinquishing it, going, none of this identifies me anymore.
Humans are not great with balance. Once we get balanced, we take one step more, and now we're unbalanced, and then it just it's like a bullet train that's so fast and you can't come back from it. So we can't stop social media. We can't stop the fact that AI is pretty much taking over all jobs and people, but you know what? We can scale it back in our own personal life.
We're just here to be a catalyst. Okay, hey, we need some help with our car. I'm like, bring it on in. And they're like, well, what are you gonna charge? I go, we don't charge. Well, what do you mean you don't charge? I'm like, we're here to help young men. And when I mentioned fatherless young men, that's when the mom was like, wait, what?
Hi, and welcome back to We Take the Stairs. Today we are joined by a really wonderful guest, and we can't wait to hear his story. So I'm Rachel.
I'm Jackson. Joining us all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, our first virtual guest. Thank you so much, Joshua. We want to jump right in and just ask you, what is the biggest problem that men are facing in society based on your experience and your perspective?
Where God has brought me through all this, it's identity crisis. Truly believing in who we are when he calls us sons and daughters. And that's the foundation stone for everything, going, if I am his son, I no longer have to live as an orphan. I no longer have to do it my own, figure it out on my own, even though I claim to be his. Or do I fully sit and he calls me son, I'm adopted. I bear every gift, every power, everything that Christ has. And God says, you are mine and those are yours as well. Do we live in that identity?
Why is identity so important to understand as a man?
Man, I'd say it's the foundation stone of the house. It's the smallest block that most people go, what does it even matter? But it sets the direction and course for every plan, every direction, all the energy that goes into that building comes off that foundation stone. So what are we building off of? And that's where I go. If we have our direction set from him, we talk about it here at the shop, the 3 Ps, power, productivity, and prosperity. And we can come up with worldly wisdom for all 3 of those things. I can have the power, I can have the control, I can find myself busy doing all sorts of things. I could build my wealth and it's all focused on me. Or if I'm truly his son, I love it where even with Jesus, 2 different things that I noticed about him in the 3 years of ministry that he has, they estimate 48% of his time, he was away where the disciples going, where did he go again? And he's sitting with his Father in prayer. Almost half the time, he's in relationship with his Father, asking him questions, communicating. And then whenever Jesus would go out and do stuff, they go, but Jesus, why did you heal that one, but you did not heal these over there? He'd do all these things, and Jesus's response, he goes, I only do what the Father tells me. Living in complete submission, authority, even though he's God, he will not do anything unless the Father has told him to do it. So when I look at his life and his character, he modeled something that, do we walk in that same authority of going, I only want to do what my Father tells me to do? And that means God wants us to disrupt him, ask him 10,000 questions, go, why is the sky blue? What is going on here? Lord, do you want me to take a left or take a right? But there's so much noise going, you're full. Why would you do that? Wisdom says, Go do this. It makes sense. And I hit that space in life where I literally want to ask God 10,000 questions. And to lean back on one of my buddies, Parker, how do you cure apathy? And it's that, be curious. I want to ask God 10,000 questions and be curious about every step of the way, because I want him to guide my feet, not me to guide where I think I need to go.
Well, that's actually really profound. So interesting. I see some guitars and a drum set, and you referenced the garage. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how that ties into your work with helping young men find their identity?
So down here, we're actually in Columbia, Tennessee. We run a shop called Journey to Jericho, and we are focused on your being produces what you do, or defines what you produce, not what you do defines who you are. And the only way I know how to do that is you have to model it. So our number one goal, we have two objectives. Young men that do not have fathers, we give them a place to dream. We give them a safe place to go to where you get to quiet the noise of the world. And how do we do that? We do it in a hot rod shop. We got some cool cars in the back. We teach the kids how to weld, grind, sparks flying. It's that caveman, something raw. But everyone goes, cool, you're teaching guys a skill trade. I go, no, the skills is just a vehicle that we use. Character is what we're building. And that means every opportunity, we get to build trust with these young men. We get to be a friend. We get to encourage. We get to call out the leadership, the blessings, give them the blessing of an older man calling out an identity in them. When you hear those lies come up, oh man, I'm not good enough. No, it's not that you're not good enough. Let's redefine that statement. What is God saying about you right now? Because he designed you perfect. Now we need to find what are those talents that he gave you. And that's the fun. So we do it through community. We have the whole auto shop where we get their hands physically turning wrenches, tactile, shoulder to shoulder time with amazing men that get to walk life with them. We have the side over here. We have a whole, I call it the ultimate flex space. On the other side, we have tables here where we do meals with the young men. We host birthday parties, graduations, just a gathering space. And then we have the stage behind us that we host monthly worship nights. We invite orgs to come in, use the space. And the whole point is, it's not about, I can't sit here and go, I'm going to teach you something, I'm going to instruct you something, and it's a 12-step program. I want multiple touch points with these young men of them seeing men that are living an authentic life. What does that do? It creates curiosity in the young men. And I'll tell a funny story. One of the young men, he was here in the shop, and I'll put it this way. I've had so much stuff happen in my life. I could be a victim and have a grumpy face and be mad and upset the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And this young man, I'm like, I guess I'm always smiling. And the only reason why I can say that is because I have a good papa. And when I look back, I'm like, I am beyond blessed no matter what this world's throwing at me. And this kid, young man, I'll put it, he was in here for a few months, and he came up to me one time, and he just like this smudging look, like he was upset. He's like, why are you always smiling? It was upsetting him. So what do you think I did? I smiled more because I was like, and he goes, you're doing it again. And I go, man, I don't know what to say other than God is good, and it's not a false statement. I go, I can look through my life, and I go, I can see his hand and his blessing every step of the way. And he just goes, I knew you're going to make a comment like that. And the cool part is seeing him, 6 months later, his personality changed around. Just this different heart, this different character behind him. But in my book, he wanted to know, is this real or is this fake? Are you just putting on a show for me, or is this authentic? So that's my call for men. I go, I want you to be authentic in your struggles, in your joy, in everything. We need these young men to see this, to go, okay, this is real.
I find sometimes, but I have found that people come to Jesus either through sort of going to church and figuring it out, or like me, you've walked a rocky path, painful path, and those smiles are there because you know what it's like to experience pain. and you don't want anyone to ever experience that level of pain.
Amen.
And you keep your smile going to bring hope, to give light to the world. So my question around that statement is, what in your life necessitated this calling, this journey, this ability to listen to what God and who God wanted you to be? But there's a key element of your own experience that was attached to it that created and allowed for the spark to ignite. So can you tell us a little bit about your own, whatever you're comfortable with talking about, your personal story that led to this, that necessitated your journey?
Yes, ma'am. And I get to talk about one of the most important men in my life. So I grew up broken home, fighting neglect. I'd tell people, I go, at 10 years old, I hated my life. I was mad. I did not care. I gave up. And but one of the things that my family did do, they did go to church, but church was just there for Sunday, and then the rest of the week, there was no authenticity. I just saw legalism. But our Sunday school teacher, she invited my brother and I and asked my mom, like, hey, if you ever want to break on a Saturday, my husband, he's always working in a garage. We'd love to watch the two boys. So I'm 12 years old at the time. And that's all Ray did. We hung out with him on a Saturday. We built a go-kart. He put a welder in my hand. We reloaded ammo, went down shooting at the bayou. We're in Houston, Texas at the time. So that's all normal stuff for a 12-year-old kid out there. And but so what I tell people, I go, Ray did something where I felt like I had no value, no worth, no anything. Ray put a smile on my face. He gave me inert value just by being willing to let us be there. And he didn't drop any big pearls of wisdom. He didn't tell us, here's the Bible, and thump us over the head and go, you need Christ in your life. Ray did something different. This guy was a Vietnam Marine. Yeah, every once in a while you'd hear a word come out of his mouth that the church would say is not holy. But I'll tell you what, he was the first real man I have ever met. And when I say real man, he was authentic. And I tell people, they go, sweet, so he taught you a trade. He did these things. That's what changed your life. And I go, actually, none of that. What rocked my world is every time his wife would walk out, he'd grab us on the shoulder and go, boys, look at that beautiful woman right there. I had not experienced that any of my childhood with my mom, with my dad, with her, or even my stepdad. And Ray modeled something of going, his wife was his prize. And yeah, it puts me to tears every time I think about it going. He put a question in my head that made me curious, and I chased that for years going, what is that? Why would someone speak about their wife that way? What seems like it should be a normal thing, but he truly honored and revered his wife in a way, but it came down to the man he was. When I say an authentic Christian, Ray was the first man. He lived it. It's every part of him. It's his internal being, his identity with Christ. You cannot shake it. You cannot move it. He lives it. And I want other men to go, that's what we're called to be, because his small action radically rocked my entire world. That was the linchpin that set me on this trajectory. And the sad part behind that is I only had him in my life for 6 Saturdays, and my mom took him out of my life. And I went back down this road of putting my head down and just running the race. I tried to prove I was a man later on in life. I joined the Marine Corps. I did all these things to prove how tough I was, but yet that question was always back there in the back of my head. And up until age 30, I did it in my own power. I had a man that modeled it. I went to church on Sunday. I called myself a Christian. Internally, I did not believe I was a man. I did not believe I had value. No matter what I did, no matter what victories I could do, no matter how bad I could be and go to war and fight the big battle and go, look at me, I'm a man. Internally, I was a broken boy that could not move past that did not see the value. And that's where I go, what changed my life? At age 30, I literally on my birthday woke up and cried out to God, kill me or do something, because I am sick of my life. I keep hurting people. I can't do it. I don't understand it, and I need your help. And that's where I go, that was the first time I opened my hand and finally went, I can't, you can do something. And God radically changed my life. And that's where all those years, the men that have been in my life, God literally brought them all back and showed who they were, showed her who they were. And for the first time, it clicked going, it's not what they do, but it's who they are. And each one of these men that has made an impact in my life, their identity was so tied with Christ that nothing in this world can rock them. And what I experienced was the atmosphere of someone living in the spirit, but I did not understand what that meant to live in the spirit.
What does that mean? What's your understanding of that now, and how do you help someone recognize that today?
And that's where I go back to that cornerstone. Literally daily, I'll use a beautiful example. David, a young shepherd boy, little young thing, he had one job, take care of the sheep. And then what happened? He went to go take food to his brothers, and he hears Goliath, and Goliath's mocking our God, the God of Israel. And David's the only one going, you guys, is anyone going to do something? And no one would. And he goes, okay, then I will. He stepped into the authority of what it was. He became the mighty king. He's the one that literally built Israel into what it was. And then what happened one day? He's the king of Israel. While his men were at war, he was sitting idle in his castle. He was not where God called him to be. So he was the king, the mighty warrior. He became the man that God called him to be, and then he got complacent, and he let other people do his work. And at the end of the day, what God revealed to me, he forgot this little shepherd boy that God had him in the beginning, where he walked with God in the fields. God was his protector. When he goes, who cares about Goliath? I've taken on, lions and bears and this and that. He goes, God's had me then, he'll have me now. How do we go back to the young man, the inner boy inside of us that we all are, the inner little girl that's inside of us, and go, I just want to feel your embrace right now, and that's okay. But as an adult, we go, no, we got to solve the problem. But as a kid, I need to just sit with my father and feel his embrace. And I was talking to someone about this the other day of going, my son, I can have dreams for him. I can go, man, I'm going to teach him every skill trade I know. He's going to be the ultimate mechanic. He's going to be the guy's guy, however you want to go down that. And my wife can get in an accident tomorrow. My son can be brain dead and remain the age that he is for the rest of his life. And I can set these expectations, and I'll put it this way. What is one thing that will never change from me to him in either one of the scenarios? If I'm blessed to be around when he turns 50, he's going to get the same hug and embrace as he does right now and says, you're my son and I love you. At the end of the day, that's the one thing that will never change. So what affects me daily, I get to go to my papa as a little kid, as a child, and remember, I am yours. And out of that, every other action flows. The man he's calling me to be, the husband he's calling me to be, the father he's calling me to be, because a son cannot give what he has not received. So I want to sit as a son with my father and go, I want to receive everything from you, because out of that, now I have something to give. And that's how I'm going to honor my wife, my son, my neighbor.
Wow, that's really profound. You've alluded a little bit to maybe having some issues in your home with your mom. I cannot really relate to that kind of mothering. I am probably like on the opposite spectrum. But I can relate to my children not necessarily having a father figure. So I understand the difficulty and the feeling of sort of abandonment that can come with feeling neglect, and the anger that can arise in a person. And we all come with something, right? I mean, no one's doing it right. We're human beings. So even as hard as we try, we bring our trauma to the table. And then if you're open to allowing God, like you're saying, to be your father, there's so much healing that can take place, but there's usually a catalyst for change. So you mentioned a little bit about saying, like, I am angry, I want to die, or you're going to have to figure out how to like hit me on the head and change me. So can you if you feel comfortable, can you tell us kind of what that moment was? The moment of
Oh,
change?
well, that was it. It was me finally coming to the end of myself on my 30th birthday and just being done. All my wisdom, all my thoughts, everything. I was trying to be the good guy. I was going through the motion. I was trying to be disciplined,
Yeah.
and my heart wasn't changed. I was going through the motion externally. Everyone would be like, man, the guy's done it. He's gone through war. He's now a firefighter. He owns his own home. He's got money. Look at what he's doing. He does these good things. He serves. He does whatever. And internally, I was a dead man walking. I
Yeah.
was saved. And I love this analogy going, when you don't have Christ, you're in this ocean and you're just bobbing around going, I know I'm dead. Because if I don't find land, I'm going down. You accept Christ at the cross, and I go, it is the blood of Christ gives us everything, but it's the key into the door. But there's a whole mansion that our Father has that we get to walk through. I want to call men of going, don't just stand in the doorway. Okay, I'm saved. I'm going to heaven. He gave us breath on this life to do the good work he called us to. The only way to know what that good work is, I want to walk those halls with my Father and understand, what did you make me to do? What did you plan for me to do? I need to communicate. I need a relationship. And this idea of going, now that our feet are on solid ground, I want to make my way and go, Lord, how do I make my way into your inner courts? Because that's the only way I'm going to experience you. It's the only way I'm going to be able to get to know you, know what your will is. And I hear it too often going, it can't be that simple. And I use this analogy, you guys might laugh at me. If I were to ask you what my favorite color was, well, of course you'd be like, I don't know. I haven't spent enough time with you. Men that have been in my life for a while, they might guess they don't know the color. My wife, we have intimacy. Into me you see. She knows me deeper than anyone else. The answer she'll give is polka dot. And it was a funny joke from the beginning where she asked me what my favorite color was, and I said polka dot, and she goes, that's a pattern. I go, nope, to me it's a color. And it's been this running joke for almost 14 years now of going, now people can answer it, but up until now, she would have been the only one to go, polka dot. You know what's funny? Our Father wants us to know him that well and go, Lord, why did you make the sky that color? I want to experience him. Why? What do you have going on? What do you want me to say to this person? Is there something along this path that you want me to recognize and see? Instead of just hitting the throttle and going, I want to ask him 10,000 questions, and I want to get to know his character. And to me, that's the only thing that excites me in this life of going, we get to have fun. We get to enjoy the pleasures of this world. You might say, when you look at the sun rising and the sun going down, or you go and you hear someone do an amazing worship night, it's like, enjoy those things, have the house, have the beauty that goes with it. But I want to be where the Lord has planted me. And that's why I go, it was that catalyst of going, I realized I cannot do anything on my own anymore because I only saw the destruction. I want to live where he's at, and I want to see the builder. I want to see the beauty of what he's doing. And that was kind of that catalyst where the pendulum swung.
And when the shift began and you gave your life to God, you cried out to him. Did everything change and nothing was ever hard after that?
Oh, no. That's a fun part of life. The battles start coming. It was funny. I love that you said this. I was looking something up and I was praying this morning. I was like, man, is there something that I should say? And I started thinking about this. I go, if we're talking to men, I'm going to call men out into a challenge, and I might tick some guys off because pride, ego, identity, someone that they respect might have said, this is the way you do it. And at the end of the day, none of those are God's voice. I don't care what the pastor said. I don't care what the church said. We have one responsibility, and that's me with a relationship with God. And it was funny. It was Newton's law of motion. It reads, an object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at a constant speed and in a straight line unless acted on by an unbalanced force. Okay. The acceleration of an object depends on the mass of the object and the amount of force applied. Okay, so how fast is it moving? And then whenever one object exerts a force on another object, the second object exerts an equal and opposite on the first. So you ask, does it get easier? In my book, actually, yeah, because I've learned to drown out the noises of the world.
Yeah.
Does it get harder? Oh, 100%, because the more I push to hear my Father's voice and live in that, culture, society, I hate to say it, but it's like the church. Those that are comfortable, now it makes them uncomfortable when they see you going out and just going, it doesn't matter. Everything burns. If he's calling me to do it, I don't care. You can't give up your retirement. You can't quit a good job. You can't do these things. I go, I know where he's called me to be. And this isn't it. He gave me a new assignment. And you will fight every part of this culture to get there. And it is the most worthy fight I've ever been on my entire life.
Amen.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I think of, we've talked at least about, like stepping out of passivity, getting into your purpose, letting go of anger or offense, and, dying to self. And I think there's a great way to segue those into answers. But the question I want to ask is, like, every man has this fire inside of them to lead, to be strong in the face of not only other people, but in front of women, to be strong in their workplace, to walk in like a really cool idea and to pursue it. And for other people to be like, wow, this guy, he knows what he's doing. And there's a boldness with that, right? Like, I have an idea, it might be crazy, but I'm going for it, and I'm bringing whoever wants to come with me, and it might be crazy, but I'm going to do that. There's a fire that gets lit up in at least most men when they hear that, man, you can walk in your purpose, you can be strong, you can show up in the face of danger for other people, or for your wife, or for your girlfriend, or for your friends, or for someone older or younger. But how can you help someone get there? What does it look like to walk with someone who wants all of those things but doesn't know how to bridge the gap?
That's the beauty of the little touch points. And I believe you guys might have brought up John Eldridge before. I love his book, Wild at Heart. And there's a quote in there. Well, one of them I have tattooed on me, esse quam videri, to be rather than to appear. Take off the mask. What is being authentic? It's taking off the mask. And that means that's the good, the ugly, the scars, the everything. And you finally relinquishing it, going, none of this identifies me anymore. But let me be who he identifies me as. And like, one of the things we go through here, the fatherless generation is asking these unanswered questions. And one of the things God showed me, it's not just kids that don't have dads, but it's literally every one of us as man. When we try to find our identity in the world, we're asking, am I valuable? Do I have what it takes? And what does it mean to be a man? Now this is where I go back to that identity thing. You and I can ask, hey, what does it mean to be a man? And I can come to you with the Marine Corps infantry and go, let me tell you what it means to fight, to put it all on the line, to be willing to jump on that grenade, to take the ultimate cost. And there's some machismo in there. And yes, there's some truth behind that. But is that what it means to be a man? And that's the tension that we live in, this idea of going, I've asked many young men, I go, hey, you're 17, 18, you're looking at dating somewhere in the future, you plan to get married? They're like, oh yeah. And I go, can I ask you a question? What's the ultimate goal of being a husband? And they're like, provider, protector. They bring this like fire behind it. And I go, I like that. There's some truth behind that, but you're a little bit off. And they go, what are you talking about? And this is where I go, I love asking questions. You might be able to answer this best. What were the Jews looking for when their Messiah came?
Somebody to defeat their enemies.
Provider, protector. They're looking for the warrior king to take over Rome so that way they can get comfortable and be Israel again. And what did they get? They got the lamb. They got the perfect. They got the lamb.
They
Christ
got the
came.
balance. They got the balance of the lion and the lamb.
No, but that's the beauty.
Yep.
They wanted a different battle fought, but God realized what was the battle to fight.
Yep.
They ultimately got the lamb. When Jesus was on top of that cross and he said, tetelestai, that is a victory cry. That's not, it is finished. That means when David slew Goliath, tetelestai was what was cried all the way back to the city saying, we have won, we have ultimate victory, the war is done, it's not a battle, the war is over, we are at peace, we have nothing left to fear. The lamb came out at the cross, or the lion did, but also the lamb. And this is where I tell men, I go, Christ said he came to be the lamb for the church, for his bride. He sacrificed everything so that way the church could be elevated and become everything. You know what I'm called to be as a husband? I'm called to sacrifice all my desires. Doesn't mean don't lead, sit on the couch and sleep all day. It means I am fully leading, but now I get to sacrifice myself so that way my bride can become the woman that God called her to be elevated into every part of God's daughter that he called her. I get that privilege. I get that honor to do that. And there's that tension of going, how do you be ultimate lamb and ultimate lion at the same time? And there's that fun tension of going, and the only way to answer that, I go, you need to go sit with your papa.
Yeah.
You need to go ask him, what do you call me to fight for? What do you call me to do? And not one of us can do that, but if I can direct someone back to the Father's voice, you'll see a life change and you'll see emotion start to happen.
So, I mean, I'm sure we can all sit and argue, but I think we can come to some kind of an agreement that there is a bit of an attack on Christianity in the world at large. And so I feel like this really affects young people the most, because many of us were raised going to church or going to a religious institution, and now this generation, you know, a lot of parents don't even subscribe to any belief in God. So let's say in relation to your shop, you have kids that are coming in and you want to show them, not necessarily preach to them immediately, but show them the way. What does that look like when they walk into your shop?
Oh, and that's the whole model. And that's why I go, no part of our shop are we ever here to preach. Are we here to proselytize? Are we to do any of that? We're here to be a friend. That is it. End of story. We're here to be a friend to the young men, and we're here to be a mirror. And we have this, when someone comes in and says, hey, what does it mean to be a mentor? I call it, it's not a 12-step program, but there's a flow chart. Ministry happens between being a friend and being a mirror. And the only way to be a mirror is I reflect and I'm facing the light of what I need to reflect. Now you're a mirror. What are you a mirror for? You know, there's that question. So in between there, being a friend, and when you're authentic, you actually start to build trust with the young men. What it does is it allows them to open up. You now get to assess the needs, what's going on. Not just looking at the fruit on a tree, but going, what's actually going internal. And what it ends up doing is it gives you empathy for the kid, for the young man. You start to see the pain behind it. You start to see, and out of that now comes the solution and directing them to the Father's voice. And if you break any one of those chains, you go back to the one before. If you lose trust, go back to being a friend. But it's kind of that idea of going, if you can't be authentic, if you don't know how to be a friend, then you can't be a friend. And it's going, ministry's in between those two. So at the end of the day, everything reflects back on me. I need to sit with my papa and go, now that I know you've expressed to me what it means to be loved, I get to now go love someone this way.
What's your response to someone who is resistant and just says like, I don't want to be converted?
Oh, I got no qualms. I'm like, keep hanging out. That's why I go. The beauty is we don't save people. We don't convert people. That's the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Our job is to throw seeds every different direction we can and keep loving our neighbor. It's the love that, like I said, me looking at Ray of going, why would he talk to his wife that way? That's what made me seek God, not that fact that he put a welder in my hand and spent time with me and did the machismo stuff. He carried something that was different. And that was so attractive. And that's one of the things, even with the shop going, we're not the end goal. We're just here to be a catalyst. And every one of us you don't need a shop to be a catalyst. But one of the things God told me about this place is keep it simple and just be a place that people can smell his aroma and dip their toes in the water. That's it.
Can you share a testimony of someone that you think of is a profound thing to share in terms of someone listening to this that might be able to recognize the story arc of someone who's coming in lost or even not even curious about faith and seeing their life change? You alluded to someone earlier, but I was curious if someone else comes to mind that's either been a part of the shop or just a friend in your life outside of the ministry where you've been able to see their transformation, what the traps were in their life and how God began to work and see transformation for them.
And that's a fun one. It's like protect the young men that are in here. But when you shared your story, there's a family that we serve right now that the son needed some help with his car. And it was actually a local business. When they're talking to the mom, went, you know what, hold up. I actually know someone that can help you with this. And they're like, you're sending me to another shop? Well, they picked up something was off and they come in. They're like, okay, hey, we need some help with our car. I'm like, bring it on in. And they're like, well, what are you going to charge? I go, we don't charge. Well, what do you mean you don't charge? I'm like, we're here to help young men. And when I mentioned fatherless young men, that's when the mom was like, wait, what? Well, we end up having this conversation and she has a very similar story. This mother has 18, the young man's 18 and the daughter's 18 now. And she's went through 2 marriages. They're men of the church. They're men of this. Each one of them physically, emotionally, you name it, has caused hurt, scars, things. And they didn't drive them away from their faith, but it drove them away from the church. Meaning they wanted no community. They saw the hypocrisy and they're like, we're done. But what it did is that's where the devil wants to get us. It puts you on an island. You're isolated because we're built for community. And the mom was kind of like, I don't know what's going on here, but we started spending time with this young man. I'll put it this way. It's been 9 months. Everything about him has changed. And I go, we haven't, in my book, done anything other than shown up. And then when he asks questions, we respond. And it's not like, here's the wisdom on how to do it. I go, well, let me tell you what my father did for me when I walked through that. All I get to do is point him back to the Father going, here's where he stepped into my life. And you get to talk about stuff. We end up going deeper into some of the wounds. The cool part is his mom has come and been like, she's seen the change. It's affected the home front. It's affected everything, his attitude, the anger, the different stuff that's gone on. It's affected her. She's now going back to church. She's learned to trust the body again, the community again. And the crazy part is it's affected the daughter where something has come up and mom's like, you need to go talk to someone that you trust. Do you know who the daughter came to?
You.
Us. Now, we had a group here to make sure it's like, okay, we had multiple eyes, witnesses, all this stuff, like to be accountable. And we got to sit with her for 2.5 hours and process some stuff. And it's the same message that I gave right there going, I'm not going to tell you turn left, turn right, but I'm going to encourage you going, are you taking this to the Father? Will you trust him with it? And that's the real control issue. It's that fear of going, if I present this, what is God going to say? What is he going to do? But he has our best interest in heart. And that's the only thing I can encourage someone. Go back there. And at the end, I asked her, I went, hey, it was a blessing to be able to do this for you and walk through prayer with you. And I go, curiosity, why did you come to us? I really don't know her. And she goes, I've seen how much my brother has changed just by being there. And I wanted some of what my brother got. And the only thing her brother got is this space. I will fight nonstop for it to be spirit-led. The culture here, I will not let the world in.
It's hard with the laxer. So I said congratulations because, and I really mean it, and it's because it sounds to me like you're living literally what Jesus said. You know, people will know his followers by how they treat each other. So I think sometimes there's so many people who have stories like that, who have found hypocrisy in whatever congregation they were part of, or who have found pain. And I think it's important to point out when those things happen, and they can and they do and they will always happen, because it's human beings who are leading these churches, and we're fallen. I don't care how great you are fallen. We're sinners in our hearts, and that's why we need Christ. So not all the time where people have spread the message of Christianity has it been kind. There is history where it has been relatively atrocious, I'm sorry to say, but that's not because of God or Jesus's directive. Jesus said, love. You don't go love by shooting somebody for not believing. I'm sorry you don't. And people have done that, so that is godless, in my opinion. That is man being right, using words in the Bible incorrectly, forcing it. Jesus forced nobody. Jesus was a gentleman. He invited people. So what it sounds to me like, and the reason that I said congratulations, is that it sounds like you understand the words that were directed to you. And many people don't seem to understand that. So if people have a story where they've been disappointed by human beings in a church setting or in a religious setting, that doesn't mean they should give up on God.
No.
So it sounds to me like you have words of encouragement to give to those people. So let's say that there is somebody listening, which we know we've had a few people listen, and we've had some comments from people who have had disappointing stories, not with God, but with a congregation, or even parents who were very demanding in that way, in ways that made the child feel uncomfortable. What would you tell a child, or anyone really, but really a young person who had that experience?
And that's where I go back. I have a very simple answer. I go, we need to sit with God. And some of the traumas from my past that I haven't fully, delved into, but they were massive for me. And I was angry at my mom for years. I was disrupted with my dad with different stuff of going, I just want him to be emotional or present with me instead of being a provider type of thing. I wanted a papa. And once I found healing in my heart, and I say that of going, what the Lord revealed is he gave me a greater heart for my mom, for my dad, of going, they actually did their best. And I can see the pain in their life, those roadblocks that prevented them from being the man, the woman that God called them to be. And that's where my warning is going, what are those roadblocks that are in my life? Yeah. I don't know. But when I sit with God, and I'll say some of the most beautiful prayer times I've had with our Papa, there's stuff from the past that it hurts. And I wasn't ready to just go, I don't know how to dig it up because it is dark and I don't even know how to go there. Yeah. And I've heard the quiet voice going, if you would trust me with this, if you would just trust me with this. And the only thing I can say is yes. And that's the real question. We can speak Christ all day long. Do we trust him? But when you actually start trusting him and you sit in that, he'll dig down to those places. He'll unroot stuff. He will cut the cancer out. Doesn't mean it's like, oh, hallelujah, I'm healed and I'm running tomorrow. And it's like day difference. But he starts to put a new identity in there. He starts to put the truth in there. And sometimes it's a fraction of a second, and sometimes it's a 3-year journey. But you got to sit and go, I will trust you with this. And when you do that, he is a good physician. He is the only one that I can trust fully with that. And that's the encouragement. He is good. Will you trust him with whatever that is and sit with him?
Yeah, what are,
Man.
to be a little tactical now, like, what are the traps that are stopping men from walking in the fullness of their identity and their purpose in God's will?
I forgot if I mentioned it earlier. We talked about the 3 P's at the shop here. Power, productivity, prosperity. Man, especially growing up in America, it's ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Own your own home, have a retirement, do this, drive that car, keep up with the Joneses. You got to have this look. We got 10,000 voices kicking in our head telling us this is what's prosperity. And I'm sorry, I've met some of the richest men in this world that are the most miserable. And then I go to a missions trip to the northern side of Uganda, which they're known as the baboons, in Uganda. It's the lowest village of any place. And I have met people with more joy, just ultimate identity in the Lord, where they go, I don't need. And I've heard it from them going, we are so dependent on the Lord daily, I do not want to lose this.
Wow.
Because they have no other option. And yet here in America, and that's where I go, do we go to God with every question? Hey, we're about to do a podcast. Do we put those sconces on the wall? Do we do this? I want to sit with my papa and know. And that's the beauty behind it. Like, when you don't have, you have to do that out of necessity. But I see the fruit that comes in their life. So here in America, or any type of success, there's nothing wrong with it. But what God's saying is, what is the direction? Any one of those things, direction is key to all of it. And am I taking direction from the worldview, or am I sitting with my papa going, you know what, God, there's a lot of things I can do. Every time someone walks in a shop, we might be talking like this, but in the back of my head, I'm having a quick question going, God, do we take this person in? Do we not? Do we fix this vehicle? Do we not? Do we do this deal? Do we not? And I will ask him 10,000 questions, and I want to know those things. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, let's just go another step deeper on that same thing. Like, the lies that people are believing about those things, and how guys are getting stuck inevitably time and time again. Like, why are these things actually keeping even young guys rooted in these lies? What are they, and what are the other stumbling blocks that guys are facing?
And that's where I go back to the identity thing. Identity found in anything other than Christ is absolutely futile. Solomon talked about it, vanity of vanities. It means nothing. Doesn't matter what pedestal you got on. And that's where I go. If I can remember daily, even if God puts me on a pedestal as a king, I am his son. Not, look at me, I'm the king.
That's right.
And I remind myself and humble myself daily in that. I literally have the power to go anywhere and do anything. And that's where my power comes from.
Yeah.
So it's drowning out the noise of the world.
Which is extremely hard to do given the fact that most people live on their phones. I mean, I'm not sure. I am really not a good person to talk to about social media. I am so inept. I have none. We have one for the podcast, and people keep telling me, you're going to have to get social media. I said, no, I'm not, because I pray daily that I never have anything that blocks me from that relationship. And I think it's very blocking, and I think it's very intentional. I think there's very good parts of social media, but again, I've said many times on podcasts throughout the entirety of it, that humans are not great with balance. Once we get balance, we take one step more and now we're unbalanced. And then it just like, it's like a bullet train that's so fast and you can't come back from it. So like, we can't stop social media. We can't stop the, the fact that AI is pretty much taking over all jobs and people. But you know what? We can scale it back in our own personal life. We don't have to let it, be the only thing that is connecting us to something. But I really want to pose this question, and it is literally just coming to me. If we are so connected and plugged in to what the world is telling us through this phone, which I don't even know, like pastors and priests and probably even the Pope has social media. You know what I mean? I know our president does. So, I mean, if we're so plugged into the phone as our source, how in the world are we making time for the real source? And what is it that you think young people, especially young men, I just as an aside, I don't separate, girls needing mentorship, but I don't see a lacking of girls having mentorship. I maybe see lacking good mentorship, but right now this particular podcast, and it's okay that it sort of is more geared towards guys. There's not that many that are positive either. So what is it that you would want to tell young guys? Where is this road going to lead them versus sitting with your father?
That's where it's been fun. This generation coming up, I've heard it more and more. And as I talk to other people, authentic relationships. This generation is craving it more than anyone ever before.
Yep.
Because we're actually in one of the largest fatherless generations ever in this country. Just like me crying out at age 30 and me crying out at age 10, that same thing. Like, I didn't know what I wanted, what I needed, but I knew I needed something other than what I had right now.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. And that's my call for men of going, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it together. If there's a kid that lives on your block, if you find out about someone at church or someone that you play whatever with, invite them for a cup of coffee. And then I hear the other side of going, well, what value does a cup of coffee do? I'm like, you just had a touch point. You just brought them in.
Yeah.
But the warning is be authentic. Be willing to be vulnerable. I loved it. We were talking quotes before we started the podcast. And two of my favorite quotes also that I have is, a generation will grow great or will become great when old men are willing to plant trees that they will never sit under.
Yeah.
Think about that. That means I am giving up something right now, and that term ROI isn't for me.
Yeah.
It's for someone that I will never meet and never even know, but God does. I'm calling men to go, what are you doing that's not there to serve you, but it's there to serve others and better the future of the people? The second one is, children are the messengers to the future. What message are you sending forward? That's a challenge. If you think about that, we can be like, oh, we sent a podcast. We told our kids how to make money. I teach these young men how to weld. Go become Jesse James. Yay. And if that's all it ever is, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm patting coffins. I want to give these kids the blessing. Where a man failed and did not give them the blessing, we have mentors in here that get to do that. The beautiful part, as I said, you don't need the shop. Men in every church, men in every community, they can find a young man and invest in him and call out the leader in him. What are these young men looking for? This right here. They're looking for a relationship, for a man to go, I believe in you. I'm going to bring you. Because that kid's going to be asking that, what value do I bring to the table? Do I even have what it takes to be one of your guys, to be along with you? What does it mean to be a man? Because I see you doing it, but I don't believe I am. And you're like, and that's why I'm inviting you into the fold. Come join the journey. Can we get men to start doing that?
No, that's really wonderful. I'm going to meet you with a quote before Jackson does his thing. And that's the quote that I gave you by the poet Rumi. He was a Persian poet. Maybe you are searching among the branches for what only appears in the roots. Maybe we need to get back to our roots, guys. Maybe we need to realize what we're made for, and that is to take men along and lead them. Because, you know, we mentioned before on a few podcasts ago, tribal societies and how they had it figured out and how men would teach boys. But when we started working in factories, that slowly started to dwindle away. Men were no longer, you know, having to teach the next generation the skills that they needed to provide and make sure that everyone had food on the table. So, you know, dads were not at home, but now they were not bringing the sons with them. So these young men are literally crying out for something to do. We stuck boys in classrooms, and yes, men need to be educated, don't get me wrong, but there's more components to a male education, just like there's more components to a female education than sitting in a classroom. But you can see the fact that parents are not tuned in like they need to be by the way that teachers are having to adjust in the school system. So, and that's a whole other, like that could be its own podcast, but that's just like, oh yeah, that's just touching the surface of a very, very big issue, which is a symptom of the real problem. Here is my biggest call out to men. And here's my biggest problem, because I spend a lot of time defending men because I'm trying to understand. I don't necessarily always think that what they're doing is right, but I'm trying to understand the why behind it. Okay, we need you guys to get okay. We need you guys to get some self-control and go back to leadership that's mindful leadership, understanding that everybody has their role, that the collective good of society is what's important, not your Ferrari. And we need to have messaging that goes along with that. And really, the only true messaging and the only place that we can really find that is in a community that truly understands the directive that God gives to us. I really don't see any other way that society has worked better. It's not working now.
Completely agree, and that's why I'm asking men to come together. One of the coolest stories I ever got to hear, do you guys know who Chip Foose is? Famous car builder. And so he's on like all the hot rod TV shows, all that. But I got to sit in one of his talks that he had at the SEMA car show several years ago, and it was right after his dad passed away. Now, this isn't a Christian story, but it paints a picture. They're asking him, what was the greatest influence that his dad had on him? You know, because he's a designer of cars, and they're like, did your dad get you into this? And he goes, not directly. And he goes, but one thing my dad did, he was a man that lived with excellence. He goes, and he put himself around other men that live with excellence. And he goes, the way I became who I am, he goes, I learned how to do the stuff with my dad. I learned the discipline. I learned the different trades and skills. But he goes, but every week these men would come in the garage, and he goes, and all of a sudden one week, one of the men was designing the brand new Corvette, brought in his portfolio, and he opens it up, and Chip goes, what is that? For the first time, he's seen the design of the cars, the sketches. And he goes, in that moment, something inside of him woke up and went like, I love that. What is that? And he ended up becoming one of the greatest car designers out there, you know, in that arena. And I use that analogy of what his dad did is his dad had excellent men that he brought around his son. Not anybody, but men of excellence that reflected that character. Now, we can use that same analogy on the Christian realm. I want to find men that their heart posture is so solid. I don't care if you play golf and I don't play golf. It's like, that doesn't change. But I see your heart. I see the fruit of who you are. Yeah. You're one of my mighty men. And I'm looking for those mighty men, and those are the men I bring around my family, my son, around the young men in the shop. I'm looking for those men, but it's that same concept going, if I'm looking to be the hero, then it's all on me. If I'm looking for the total welfare, how do I gather as many men that have different abilities, different outlooks, different lenses on life, but it's all connected to the Father? That's the one that's going to connect with one of these young men in a different way that I would never have the ability to. There's tribal community. There's the beauty of what you bring it together, and let one of the other men bring what I couldn't.
Yeah, you're starting to talk more practically, what it can look like to help culminate an environment. But as the man receiving wisdom and guidance and seeing the things that older and wiser men are doing, even if it's not the car that they drive and the work that they do, right? But oh my gosh, this guy that I'm learning from, man, he's in his prayer time for like 3 hours a day. Do I just do that? Right? So before the podcast started, you alluded to this principle of getting disciplined, but your heart not changing. So how can young men who can't wrap their head around all the experiences that someone in their even 30s, but 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s are talking about, how can they wrap their head around all these different things to do that without careful guidance of the Holy Spirit will ultimately be their identity, right? What does it look like to build discipline and have it become something of the heart, not something that'll ultimately take the place of your identity outside of being a son?
And that's that, in the Marine Corps, we called it the tactical pause. You might be full throttle in a mission, and the moment you realize something's off, tactical pause. Be willing to stop, reevaluate, and then re-engage. And with that is that same concept going, don't let what we do define who we are. But are you willing to pause and go to the Father and go, okay, I think I know who I am, but now I'm going to trust you. Who do you say I am? And pause and let him bring the answer. And that's why I go, that's the only way. And that's where when these young men go like, why are you who you are? Because I'm willing to pause, and it might seem less productive, but I'm actually more productive, because when I am productive, I'm 100% on direction of what I'm supposed to do instead of wasting my time on stuff I don't need to be doing. So that's the encouragement with that.
Yeah. Could you even just give an example of a prayer for what that could look like? Someone's listening to this. They're going, man, I don't know how to do that. What does it look like? I don't spend time in the quiet place. I don't know what an intimate relationship with God looks like. Could you just demonstrate right now a prayer of a tactical pause, as you were saying?
And that would be the encouragement going, there is no fancy prayer. There is no fancy word.
Yep.
It's literally sitting with God. And that's why I go, I have done this so many times where I'm like, Lord, who are you calling me to be? And that might be it, and just sitting there. And that's why I go, that's where God's taking me down roads of going, do you trust me? And of course I'm like, of course I do. And he's like, no, but will you trust me? And in my head, I'm thinking, I trust you. And he just keeps on with that going, will you trust me? But then I ask him, what do you want me to trust you in? And that's when he goes, if you would trust me, will you let me into that inner place? And the reality is, that's the scariest part.
Yeah.
But when he's so gentle and he walks with me and I go, I want to be healed so that way I do not hurt other people the way I used to. It's for others, not for me, and I don't care what happens to me. Now God gets to go into those places and go, let me start to rewrite your identity. And that's another thing we talk about. We call it the awaken, the anchor, the align. What roadblocks, and that's some of those things. Lord, what is in my way right now that I do not see? I'm asking him. I'm not using my wisdom of going, oh no, I'm good. I want to ask him, what are those roadblocks? And when he starts to reveal that, then I go, Lord, I need your help. I do not have the strength right now. What are the truths that you want to put in that place? It might come through a word of wisdom, through a friend. It might be a word of the scripture. He might literally give me a word in that prayer time. But I'm willing to pause until I hear the answer for it.
Yeah.
And that's where I go, the moment he gives you a word, it now becomes an anchor. When you say, how do you hold an identity? He just gave me a word on who I am, who he designed me. a healing, a truth, or whatever it is, I have an anchor in the ground now that I don't care what storm comes, you cannot rip it out. The beauty when I walk with that, he now aligns my life with his. We don't align God to our life. He aligns our life with his. Where you see the Father doing work, now I get to align with what he's working on, not go, hey, Lord, I got a good idea for a good deed. Will you join me in it? And he's just sitting back laughing at me going, my little son, you don't get it yet. He wants us to walk with him because he is a good shepherd. And there's that tension of life, but it's the simplest thing. Do not complicate it. Just ask God the simple questions and trust him. It will radically change your life.
Yeah. Give us an example in your life when the outside world, maybe even friends that know you well, looked at your circumstance and goes, I don't get it. That doesn't make sense. I don't think you should do that. Or some sort of, outward looking in, like, hesitation. But you, because of your time with the Lord, you had peace and unwavering certainty that God was with you and that this was a decision that you had to move forward with. Does something come to mind?
Well, I mean, two big things that are hilarious. The first one, my wife and I, we kissed on our wedding day. And when we started, when I actually started courting her, dating her, same thing. I had to go to my papa and go, what do I need to do for your daughter? And he just said, dude, keep her innocent, white as snow. Okay, well, I can take that and run. I sat with him a lot. What does it mean to keep her innocent and white as snow? And he's like, you're going to do these things. Do not get physically involved. Do not do these things because it's too easy to run down these roads. And I was like, okay. So I remember telling her, I'm like, we're not going to kiss until our wedding day. And she's like, you are crazy. This ain't going to be the thing. And on our wedding day, she realized that was one of the prayers of going, she's been praying to God going, bring me a man that's going to respect me for me, to love me for me, and not because of whatever physical attraction, you name it, brings to the table, but because he truly wants me. And it was funny, like there's that one fight right there, our struggle, you might say, but it's like just hearing a simple little voice from God and going, just being obedient. And it absolutely blessed my wife's, socks off. And God spoke to her and brought healing from things of the past through a simple little motion. But I'd say my journey moving out here to Tennessee, I was a 14-year firefighter in Orange County, California, had the career, built it up, had the time invested in it. It's not like, oh, I'd been doing it for a year or two. Let's go find something different to do. I loved what I did. I loved my boys at the firehouse. This was, if I could say it, like it was a dream job to have. And God called us out here to Columbia. But I will say I hit a point in my career where my wife and I were sitting there and I just had the random thought. And one day it was like, Lord, is this where I'm supposed to be right now? And I literally opened my hand and just went, wherever you call me, I will go. And I don't know why I prayed that prayer or what was going on. And he put Columbia, Tennessee, literally in every random conversation coming up for 2 months. And my wife and I are going, what is going on? And no, there wasn't an audible voice going, you're going to quit your career and you're going to move and you're going to do this and, start running this ministry full time. But just through prayer, God he made certain things uncomfortable and shut doors, and he started opening up doors, and you're just sitting back going, you're seeing everything unfold in front of you. And the way I put it is, I left a career with the fire department with good pay. My wife was pregnant with our first kid at the time, and we were moving to a town that we had no idea where in the world this was. We knew the general proximity, but we don't know anyone in Columbia. We have no reason for coming here. And so with that whole thing, more unbelievers were like, man, look at the gall on you to go do this crazy adventure. The church. This is where God revealed something. Comfort is one of our worst enemies. Enjoy it while you got it. Do not let it become your God. And I had more people in the church come after me and attack me and go, you do not leave a job. You're not stewarding well. You're not serving your family. How could you walk away from making money to go on this crazy thing and put your wife and future kid in harm's way? Like, you name it, the attacks, the arrows just started coming. And I'm sitting going, these were people that I'd been walking with for 10 years that I called my friend, and that's where the Lord revealed something. They are Christians. They're walking with him, but there's something about that comfort, that false security. They still have part of their identity tied in it. And me walking away from all of that, you're actually reflecting something on them that's making them uncomfortable. And like I said, I won't hold them accountable. I'm not mad at them, but it blew my mind just going, of all the people that I thought would have supported us, these were the voices, and of going, wow, like, that's where the devil used it to try to deter me to go, I'm going to shut you down and stop you in your tracks. And that's where I go back to identity. I want to know my Father's voice so well that I don't care if it's my best friend or my wife. If it's not his voice, I don't need to listen to it. And I know it's not his voice.
We really, truly appreciate you coming on here. That was unbelievable. Thank you for everything that you're doing to help young people. Sounds like your children, your family, you're on the right track. It's an honor to have met you. And I like that you're calling men to the carpet. So thank you for that. And I like the challenges, and I hope that the men listening meet them. So I've taken so much from this conversation, so thank you.
Yeah,
I was going to say, if you get any responses from this and anyone wants to reach out, please have them reach out to me. I'd love to encourage. You mentioned your oldest boy. I don't know if he ever wants to make a trip down to Tennessee or up to Tennessee. If he ever wants a 2-week trip and he wants to learn how to turn a wrench, get greasy, I'm like, I would love to house him and just spend some time with him.
You might get him because he loves cars.
Oh, no, if you would ever be game and trust me enough with them, I'm like, I'd love the opportunity.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
please conclude with where people can find you, the name of your ministry, any information that helps plug what you're doing into this episode so anyone that's watching can support you.
All right. So if anyone was intrigued or a spark was hit by what was said today and they want to hear more, just have a conversation. I'd love to be an encouraging word. You can reach out. We have a website. The ministry is called Journey to Jericho. The website is www.journeytojericho.org. You can go on there, find out more about the ministry. And like I said, shoot me an email, shoot me the phone numbers on there. If you have questions, I'd love to be an encouraging word and just help any man that might be struggling with some type of thing. Just help give them the courage, whatever it is, or make space for the Holy Spirit to show up to go, we don't know most of the time what the problem is, but God does. And he just wants us to sit with them. So if you need that extra hand, I'd love to be the guy to walk through it with you. And yeah, at the end of the day, I'll throw it out there. If anyone's intrigued on what we're doing here at Journey to Jericho, I'll put the ask out there. It does take resources to do what we do, to have the men in here to provide for these young men the way that we do, and anyone that would be inclined to join us in this journey, be a way to partner with us in helping these young men. There's ways to donate on the website. There's QR codes on there, and everything can go straight through the website. So I appreciate any support and anyone that's willing to join us in this fight to bring these young men up.
All right.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you. We'll see you all next week.